I'm here with Jen from Ayria. I have a few questions for you, Jen. How do you feel like you've grown and developed from when you first started making music?
When I first started, Ayria was about 7 years ago now, so I've been doing it for a while, and I've grown just from what I've learned about songwriting, about vocals, singing. You know, when I was first approaching the first album, Debris, I was working with a lot of different people and just excited to be singing and doing anything. So, you know, not too much thought and not too much input of myself went into song structures. But, you know, I still loved working and singing, and that was my main goal. And then with Flickr, I wanted to experiment more and actually like write, like compose and play with choruses and verses and pre-choruses and write the music. And then with Hearts or Bullets, I took everything that I thought worked and that was successful in those two releases and tightened it, and knowing what I love to do live and how, like, what works for me best, and just think I took all the best elements. So that's why that album's my baby.
Okay, then. You finished college with a math degree. What made you go from studying math to wanting to make music? Like, granted, music is very mathematical.
It's kind of strange, I guess. My whole life I've been really good at two things, I would say, is things that are very scientific and like doing math, and the creative side that just wants to sing and write music. So in between I suck. Like I'm terrible at grammar. But those two areas which seem to be so far apart that I excelled at just drove me further and further. I did have a career that was based in math. Like I was doing like, you know, IT and like project management, but sometimes you have to make a decision when you get opportunities to tour a lot. Right. So now I'm just doing music, so we'll see. It's cool. Not an easy life, but yeah.
What's the best way for your fans to follow what you are up to?
Facebook right now. Well, it's kind of weird because all of them are kind of linked. So you can program it so that Facebook updates Twitter, updates MySpace status. So I believe those are still the three main ones that I use. So yeah, the Ayria Musician Facebook page is where I would suggest everyone go.
Who has really influenced your music and your life?
There's been so many bands and so many different genres and styles. Like growing up, hearing everything my dad would listen to, like all the like classic rock, like late 70s.
Like who?
Bands like The Police and Led Zeppelin. And
Led Zeppelin.
Oh, I know, right? Like, and I love The Police. And I just like all those kinds of classic 70s rock bands that he exposed me to, and then through the 80s, developing my own taste, like loving pop music in the 80s, all the synthesized music, growing up with like Depeche Mode and Madonna and Cyndi Lauper and The Cure and everything through the 80s, and then the 90s grunge took over, and I was still just like in high school when I like first heard Nirvana, and I loved all that stuff too because I thought it was really darker and more emotional. So I've been through every influence, and I just latch onto like the hooky stuff and the music that moves me, and usually vocals and lyrics that move me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what drives me the most, is if it can.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Get that reaction out of you. If you just hear that song and there's just this swelling note that goes, whoa, that just, like that chorus just changed my life. Like I've had so many of those growing up.
Yeah.
That made me want to create stuff just as powerful. So.
Cool.
Trying.
So why the name Ayria? Does it have any significant meaning for you?
No. We were just playing around, a few friends of mine, with the word aria, like a musical scale and sonnet and stuff.
That's why I thought it was aria.
Yeah.
To begin with.
So then we were like, well, we can't just use that word. How do you like do a little play on it? So it kind of, people just think it's my name, which is fine because it's a stage name. Because everyone's like, you know, like it's a band, but it's not, because it's just me that does the music. So
yeah, so you write and do everything.
So people,
yourself.
I'll be walking by and like at concerts like this, and they're like, Ayria, and I'm, yep, that's me, sure. But yeah, I didn't put it wasn't like some secret decoded message type of name that may be a mistake, but it's too late. It's 7 years too late to change it now. So
Now your website says that you incorporate science and science fiction into your music. Could you comment on that a little bit? Like, who are your influences in that respect?
Well, it's like not so much on the new album, but like on Debris, I wrote a song called Redshift, like about, and if you listen to the lyrics, it's all like about the scientific phenomenon of redshift in space. But and then back when I was in the other band that I started with Epsilon Minus, it was one of the songs was called Against a Dark Background. Backdrop. It's been so long. But anyways, at the time, it's just because I had read this amazing novel by Ian M. Banks, who's like a science fiction writer, and that song's all about like that book, and so it just like inspired me. I love reading science fiction and trying to write quirkier lyrics than just they're not all just like angry girl music.
How do you come up with a concept for an album or even a song? Like, what's your process of creation?
Oh my god. It's so not a formula that it's so hard to describe. Sometimes it starts with, I'll be in the shower and a vocal melody will come to me that I'll keep singing over and over so I can remember it, so I can go record it. Right. And other times I just start with like software, and I just start with a kick and a snare and playing with synths until something sparks an idea. Or I'll pick up a guitar, which I do play, not too well anymore, but I can,
I hear that.
like I write songs on guitar sometimes because it's actually, sometimes I'm more comfortable than like my synthesizer, because it just has a different feeling. You get different types of emotion out of different instruments. Right. And sometimes that'll spark an idea, and then I'll quick go to the computer and electrify it.
What do you do to keep your creative juices flowing?
It's tough, you know.
Follow up to that question.
What?
I said it's kind of a follow up to that question.
Yeah. No, it's really hard, and I think you want to keep trying to strive to do something new, but then, you know, you have to do it for yourself. Like, no matter what, like, you know, fans will be, oh, you've gone too pop, or, oh, you know. Right. They want you to stay the same. But if you stay the same, then they're like, well, they're still the same. They haven't changed. So you get stuck in a catch-22 if you're trying to please fans all the time. I think if you're doing it and it comes from, like, if you're actually, it sounds so cliched, but if you're writing from your heart, the true fans that respect what you're doing will get it, and they'll just follow along. And if not, you've still done what you've wanted to do. But Creative Juices is tougher, especially as you reach the 4th album, because I always wondered about that. Like, most bands, like, even through pop, like the ages of pop and rock, they don't last past, like, unless you're like the Rolling Stones and stuff, but a lot of them don't last past the 3rd or 4th album. And I always wondered about this phenomenon, but, like, you know, people move on and different trends come up and pop up. And I wondered, just as a band, I'm like, how do you keep going when, like, what if your best ideas were done in your first few CDs? And it's just like, there's a lot of pressure as an artist to, like, everyone's like, when's the new stuff, and it's just like, I just spent all of my soul and my heart putting out this last one, and it's only a year and a half old, like that kind of thing. But everyone's just like, you know, the pressure to be creative in a certain time period and a 2-year release window, you know, and it just baffles me, right? Because, you know, we're not selling millions here. We're just trying to play and, like, dance music, but also, you know, with trying to inspire with more creativity. So that's probably a long-winded answer. I'm going off and on, but on and on. But yeah, so I question that. I have that same question myself, like, where does the creativity come from and where will it come from? You just kind of hope and pray that you will wake up and that day will be productive with some melody that just goes in your head and you can't get it out and go, this is going to be worth something to me to write.
Cool.